Hello, this is Jan from the Fuzzy Duckling, bringing you our second project in October's Bountiful Bones theme. Today we are going to learn how to draw a sugar skull. And if you'd like lots of examples of sugar skulls, just go on to Google and search for sugar skulls images. You'll find all kinds of decorating ideas. Today we're going to learn how to draw the basic sugar skull, a couple things to decorate it with, and then you can take off on your own and see what you can do with this fun project. You will need pencil, eraser, and paper. And if you like, it's kind of handy to have a compass around, but you don't need that. You could freehand part of this, the circle we're going to use, or you could get a plate or a lid to draw around if you want a perfect circle. So let's get ready. Somewhere right around this video should be a download for our instruction sheet. And we have a 3-page instruction sheet you can use. 2 pages shows you how to draw your skull. Excuse this corner on mine. My printer got a little upset at me, I think. And the 3rd page is just a basic outline of the skull. So if you're in a hurry and you don't have time to draw your own sugar skull, you can print this off and then decorate and color it just as however you want to do with it. So I hope you have fun with this. Let's get started. So you need your piece of paper. And lay these where I can see them, so I follow them just exactly like your instruction sheet has for you. Now, you can probably tell I have already lightly sketched part of this guy out. That's just to save time so you don't have to watch me as I'm well, I tend to like to erase and move and jiggle and joggle and work at it until I get the picture just the way I want it. This way I've already done that off camera, so you don't have to watch me do that. So, here's a small picture of our finished result. The first thing we need to do is draw a circle. Now I'm drawing mine on a great big piece of paper that comes out of your copy machine. So my circle is, I don't know, probably 6-7 inches across. I didn't think to measure that. But just a circle that will fit here and about the top half of your piece of paper. And if you use a compass, which I love for circles, because that way you can make almost any size circle you want. And as you know, you just twist that around with the pencil lead down and it will draw a perfect circle for you. Now I'm going to darken up this circle that I drew already so you can see it plainly. Now, in the beginning of your picture, while you're sketching out these basic lines, I really would advise you just to draw very lightly. Kind of like I did here at the beginning where you could barely see the lines. That way, some of these lines that will need to be erased will erase easily. Now I'm going to draw mine darker, so you can see them plainly on the camera. So there's our circle. First step, circle. Second step is we're going to draw a cross. Right across the middle of our skull, just turn our paper like this. This is up and down. We're going to find the middle. Now if you've already done this with a compass, there's a little hole in the middle to help you find it. Otherwise, you might need to use your ruler a little bit or just eyeball it. We're going to draw a line straight down the middle of that circle. Now, again, this is a line you will eventually want to erase. It's a guideline to help you know where to put things. So draw it very lightly. And then the other direction on our circle, halfway down, we want to draw another line. So see, we've crossed our circle. Can you see that there? Now, we want to extend this line on down so it looks like the cross, the kind you see on church steeples. This will be that shape. The distance from the middle here down to the bottom of my circle, I'm going to come down and I'm going to make a little line right down here where that is. And that's how long I want this line to be. So we're going to keep going on down till we hit that line. And as you can see now, we have a cross. And if you like math, this will work out to however long this skull is. This distance from the top of his head to the middle of the circle is 1/3. From the middle of the head down to the bottom of the circle is 1/3. And then this area right here is 1/3, which makes one whole skull, doesn't it? Okay. Let's bring our instruction sheet over. This is where we were. See the cross? 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Now, you don't need to draw this out there. That's just to show you the measurements, because you'll want to erase that. You wouldn't want that to stay in your picture. Now, the next thing we're going to do is off the bottom, we're going to kind of make it a rectangle. But we don't want sharp corners on our rectangle. We're going to come down from the side of the circle, do a rounded corner, come around the bottom, and come down this side and meet it over here. Rounded circles. So we're going to come down here, off the side of my circle, round the corner. I have to turn my page. Come down here under my circle. Actually, it probably would have been better if it was touching the circle, but this worked out fine. Some variations won't matter. It just gives your guy a little more character. There we go. See, now we have this on there. Doesn't look like a skull yet, does it? Now we're going to add the chin area right here. If you notice, we came in just a little bit on each side. It's kind of a triangle that doesn't have a pointed end. Maybe the easiest way to do this, let me show you here, would be to come down here to the very bottom there and do a straight line out. Now this line you don't want as long or wide as this line. If you drew down from the middle up here, this cross, and came down, that'd be about where you would want this line to come. Just like that. If we went straight up, we'd come up to the middle of that line. Then we're going to take from this side, it's about 1 inch in here on the side, and come down and meet the bottom of that line. And we're going to come up with a chin shape. So now we have a circle, a rectangle, and a chin shape. Try to think what, there's a mathematical name for that, but you know what? I've forgotten more things than I ever knew, I think. So I'm not even going to try to name that. So we are right here. Circle, rectangle, chin shape. The next thing is we want to add 2 round circles here for the eyes. And those are going to be in the lower corners of that circle. Not above, but below that middle line. Now, it's a little tricky to get the eyes the same size. That's something, at least for me, has always been hard for me if I draw a circle here to get this circle the same size. But you know what? You could you bring that handy dandy compass out again, kind of experiment till you get the size of eye you want. And that way, when you come over to make this eye, you can get exactly the same size. And you'll get a nice circle out of it. Now, I have the top of my eye hitting this middle line. So I'm going to darken my eye shapes here. And you'll want to notice where you place them. I eyeballed mine, and if you look closely, my eyes aren't quite the same distance from the outer edge. But you know what? We don't have to be totally perfect. Sometimes if we try real hard to make things totally perfect, it's not fun anymore, is it? And after all, we're drawing this. It's not a photograph. So here's one of my eyes. I shouldn't say eyes because on a skull, it's actually, there's not an eye in that. I guess you would call it an eye socket. Now, just for decoration's sake, we end up decorating that till it looks like there's an eye in it, which is okay. We're just having fun and decorating our sugar skull. So, here comes my 2 eye circles. And I actually say that's one of the hardest parts to freehand because it's hard to try to get these exactly the same size and exactly in the same place. So again, circle, rectangle, chin shape, 2 eyes. Next thing we want to put in here is a nose hole, nostril hole, whatever you want to call it. This is where the nose would be, or the hole for the nose. So it starts up here between the 2 eye circles. It's going to come down in a curve and go to the bottom line of that rectangle and curve up. It's like an upside down heart, actually. It's a skinny heart, but a heart nevertheless. Okay, you see how we have, see if I can get this a little closer. If I turn my picture upside down, there's my heart shape. All right. This is where we're at. Now we want to add a mouth line. Now you can actually make this mouth be any shape you want it. You might want to point it down and make it look like he's mad or sad, or go straight across. I decided to give mine a little bit of a curve, but you can shape this however you want, but make it almost as wide as your chin space here, but not quite. Leave about 1 inch on each side. So I'm going to draw, and this line shows where the teeth meet together. There we go. We're almost done with the outside of our skull shape. There's one more thing we need to do. We need to soften this out. Now, we can do that, which is what I did. You might like this really bony look and prefer not to do this line. So that's up to you. But if you like to soften it out, you can bring it down a little bit like that. If you notice, these are the cheekbones that you have right under your eyes. And then, of course, here's your chin. Here's the top of your head. And we've done the whole first page of these instructions already. The second page gets into each little decorative part that we put onto our skull. And at the top, we're going to start out with something we put at the top of our head, which is going to be a flower to decorate his head. I mean, obviously he has no hair, so something needs to go up there. So the first step is going to be draw kind of a half circle here, which is going to be the center of the flower. We won't see the whole flower. Some of it disappears over the back of his head. Now we're going to add a petal. Come down here and let that petal meet on each side of that center line that we still have there. We haven't gotten rid of that yet. Now we're going to come in and draw the rest of the petals. Now you can eyeball this, or if you're like me, I like to use my compass again. Measure to the end of that first petal, and if I want to have all my petals the same size, lightly draw a partial circle there. We will erase that line eventually. So we know how to draw our next petals and get them the right length. Now we're into the part of this picture. A lot of this is going to be freehand for now. I won't have already sketched it. I do think these decorative parts are the fun parts of this project. Now the back petals, they disappear. We don't see the whole petal. So you'll only have one side of the petal drawn. And then, just like regular petals, we're going to put a little line down the center of the petals. This already has a line. We'll erase part of it in a minute. Like that. Okay. Isn't that neat? Now, the next thing if you want it. You don't need to put this here because you can decorate this any way you want. And you don't have to put a flower up there if you have some other ideas. But the next thing I put in mind to kind of fill it out was these little side, what shall we call them, curls. Maybe this represented the hair he used to have. So, come along. Oh, about halfway down here, just do a curl in. Like that. Do you see my curl there? My lighting is not too good today. It's a very rainy, stormy day, so I'm not getting the light from my window that I usually have. So I hope you can see all this okay. Now I want to make one on this side, and it probably won't match it exactly. Again, I say, I have a hard time matching eyes, and I have a hard time matching swirls. But there we go. That's good enough for me. Now I'm going to put a swirl going the opposite direction off of this one. And do the same thing here. And that makes a nice fancy little decoration on the top of our skull. Now we're going to move on to make the eyes fancy. But you know, first I think we'll do some erasing. And in fact, on your sheet, there's going to be a funny looking skull face here with little arrows on it. And these are places you will need to erase. And let me show you on here where they are. The up and down cross lines need to go. And just a little bit of that on our flower. We'll keep part of that for our petal line. All right. Down our cross line. Cross the nose hole. Now, if you drew light, these shouldn't be too hard for you to erase. I drew heavy, and so these might be a challenge for me. Down across the teeth even, that line up and down has to go. Now, the line that went across the circle needs to go. Quite a bit of erasing on this at this stage. And erase as well as you can. If you made a half circle up here to draw your petals, that needs to go. Now, down here, the bottom part of the circle that is inside that rectangle, right under the eyes, that needs to go. So you're going to get rid of a lot of these lines that you just drew. They were kind of lines to guide you where to put the next lines, or where to place the nose, or where to place the eyes. And they're very handy, but you have to get rid of them eventually. And sometimes that can be a challenge if you're like me and you drew heavy. Now we have the bottom of the rectangle. Needs to come out. And here where I smoothed this off, I have a little bit right there that needs to come out. You may not have smoothed it off. And if you didn't smooth it off, part of this will need to stay, and you'll just erase this here under the nose. So let's get rid of those extra lines. Now, you take your time and do a good job erasing. I don't want to take up too much of your time here, so my job of erasing won't be as good as your job of erasing. But I think you're probably getting the idea. There, he looks better without all those extra lines in there, doesn't he? And I'm going to erase my 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I don't need that in there. There we go. All right, now let's move on to doing the eyes. In the center of each eye, let's make a little circle. Can you see that circle? I'll show you close here in a minute. All right. He's staring at you. And then we're going to make a flower shape. Now, I have seen some skulls where they make a heart shape too, which is very nice. So instead of the two circles, you could draw a heart there. But I like the way this circle came out, so that's what I did on this. We're going to draw petals. So draw a petal at the top, a petal at the bottom, a petal out the side, and out the other side. Now you should have 4 petals. Now go in between each of those petals and draw another petal. And don't worry about them being exactly alike. If you're like me, everyone will probably be a little different. But if that was a real flower, they would be anyway. Okay, see we have a full flower drawn there. Now we want to come on and put our little petal lines down the center of each flower. Okay. Now, this is whether you want to do it or not. Let me show you this up close. I like scallops around my eye. So this is a time when you can do some scallops. Can you see those scallops? I'm going to put those all the way around my eye. I'm trying to draw them real dark here. I don't know. I hope you can see them okay. As I say, my light is kind of dingy today, even though I have my lamps on as bright as they'll go. It's a dark day, and I'm not getting any light much from my window. Alright, see how I have scallops all around that eye? Now, in each scallop, I'm going to put a dot. You can do this or not. I like the way it looks to have a little dot in the middle of each one of these little scallops. It just decorates my sugar skull right up. Okay, on your sheet you will see that this is filled in. I'm going to wait to fill that in and do all of my fill-ins at once. You can do that however you want, but for the moment I'm just going to leave this alone and come back and color this in. Because we're almost done. We have our nose to put in and our teeth to put in, and then come back and finish some of this. On the nose, let's skip to the nose. We're going to draw an inner nose shape, just the same shape as the outer part of the nose. We're going to have a little inner nose shape. There we go. And we're going to come back in and fill that in a few minutes too. And I also will finish the other eye. Now, teeth. First step here, you have that line, just like that. We're going to draw straight up and down lines that represent the teeth. So I'm going to start towards the middle here and just draw up and down lines. Then the next step is kind of make a curve on the top of each tooth and a curve on the bottom of each tooth. Those are kind of like scallops too. Okay, do you see my teeth there? Now I had one more step. I had a dark edge all the way around the teeth with a little point at the sides where this line would have come up. Excuse that piece of paper. It got caught in my printer. It should look like that. So I'm going to go draw that around there. Now all of this is optional. This is your sugar skull. You make your sugar skull any way you want. This is just to get you started, get those creative juices going. And then you can think of all kinds of ways to do this. I'm going to make this little, it's almost like a smile up around there. He's probably smiling because he scared us. Or he's smiling because he's full of sugar and he loves sugar. All right, look, we're almost done with our sugar skull. Now, I need to go in and finish this real quick. But let me show you. We're going to color in. And you can use the same pencil if you want. Now, I found in my things this pencil. It says it's jet black. It's a little easier to fill in the dark with this pencil because it's soft. And it's been sharpened so much, I can't even tell you what kind of pencil it is. It says it's an ebony Faber ebony pencil. I don't know. You can even go to Walmart and find all kinds of drawing pencils. And I would suggest that you get you several different types. But the softer pencils should have a B on them. Now this actually has an HB. One I had out earlier was a 6B, which was nice and soft. And just get them and play around with them and learn what the different drawing pencils will do. I think eventually we'll have to have a video on the different pencils. But I find I'm missing some of my pencils, so I may have to go buy a set first. It has all of them in it. So I'm going to take this soft pencil and start filling in up at the top of this flower, that half circle. Now, I will say, if this is going to be a graphite drawing, do that now. If you want to make it markers, you may not want to fill these in. Instead, you may want to ink your picture and then either use markers or colored pencils on these. And if you want to draw this on watercolor paper, you can make this into a watercolor picture too. If you can draw your own picture rather than having to copy it and being limited on the paper, kind of paper you can run through your copy machines, just learn how to draw these yourself. We'll want to go between on the eyes, every petal, and either color or use your dark pencil and fill that in. The nose, this middle part, needs to be colored in. There's half of it. Around the mouth, this needs to be colored in. Now, I'm going to finish coloring these in off camera, and I'll be right back with you when that part is done. Okay, I'm back. What I have done is I finished coloring in these spots with my darker pencil. But you know, I forgot my scallops, didn't I? Well, let's add those in real quick. Although it looks kind of funny to have one with and without. I mean, I could leave it that way, couldn't I? And then I went around and made my lines darker on the lines I knew I wanted to keep. And then I tried to clean up my eraser marks. They didn't come up real well because of how hard I drew, but that's okay. As I'm working on this, I have the sudden urge to make another one. And I have a feeling if you have a lot of creative juices, I bet your head was just coming up with all kinds of ideas of what you could do with the knowledge of how to draw a sugar skull. Now, what I saw, here's some ideas, and you can steal them if you want. In fact, I'm thinking maybe one of our next projects will be making a collage of this guy and using colors and who knows, fancy paper, material, who knows what, and make a really neat thing out of this. But here's a couple ideas if you just even want to keep this. I think it would be neat to get some sparkly things, those little gems, and maybe a red sparkly gem right there. And you know, in fact, I might have one handy. At the craft store, and I've seen these at Walmart even, and I think I got this at Hobby Lobby, you can get containers full of sparklies. Some of them all different kind of shapes, and they're really fun to have around. And you know, I've had this, oh my goodness, 2-3 years, maybe longer. And we've used them for crafts. My grandkids have used them for crafts, and we still have this many. You buy you a bin of this, and it'll last for ages. And I'm thinking, oh, look at that. Red glowy eyes in the middle of this guy. Now, what I would need to do is find a matching one in here. I think maybe this is. Woohoo! Doesn't that look neat? Maybe something up here for this center. And I think a little, well, this might work right here. Maybe a sequin on one of the tooth that makes it look like he had gold fillings. That's not quite the right size, but if I was really looking for things, I could find something. I think maybe a gold sequin right there for his tooth filling. You know, he might have been a pirate, right? And he might have had a lot of gold fillings. And if you had more of these teeny tiny ones, you could do some decorations around the edges of his face and all kinds of things as a collage, you know. I might have to do that. We'll see. If you think you'd like that for a project, why don't you put that in one of our comments and let me know. I think this would be quite fun to make. I think I'm going to have to do that. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this. Let me raise it up here. Be sure you can see him real good. And there's more steps, obviously, we could do. We could shade him, we can paint him, we could color him, we can do all kinds of things. And I think we might have to do that. So, until then, you have fun drawing sugar skulls, and we'll be back with you. We have a couple more projects for October, and there's one, a really cute one I know I want to do. And this might be the other one. I'm not sure yet. You let me know. All right? So, bye-bye for now.